is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished. The
Right.
Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Was planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, which she totally was. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince.
She used as a weapon at the time. So there were quite a few things about her personal life. I'll work them into another book, I think.
Hello, dear listeners. Let's dig into another interesting royal story today. What if the royal fairy tale the whole world fell for was never the complete story? What if the sparkling headlines, the emotional TV interviews, and that perfectly polished public image were only the surface of something much deeper? Because when you really start digging into the story of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the picture stops looking simple. A very different reality starts to show up behind the curtain, and the deeper people look into their journey, the more twists, tension, and unanswered questions start popping up. What once looked like a fresh, modern royal love story has slowly turned into one of the most talked about and controversial sagas the royal family has faced in decades. To some people, at least. When Meghan first stepped onto the royal stage, many saw her as a breath of fresh air. She looked confident, independent, and ready to shake up a centuries-old institution that many believed needed change. But critics quickly started seeing a different angle. To them, the story began to feel less like a spontaneous royal romance and more like a carefully managed public brand, built around media attention, dramatic headlines, and very public clashes. The spotlight only kept getting hotter. Prince Harry, once widely respected for his military service and strong sense of royal duty, now appears beside Meghan in a completely different role. Instead of quietly serving the institution he was born into, he's openly challenging it and sharing deeply personal claims about what life inside the palace was really like. Supporters say the couple are finally speaking their truth. Critics, however, say the story keeps changing, and every new interview, podcast, or documentary seems to open the door to even more questions. And now, investigative biographer Tom Bower is stepping back into the spotlight, pointing toward parts of Meghan's past that he believes were quietly brushed aside when the world first got swept up in the royal romance. According to Bower, there were details that never received much attention during the early excitement surrounding Harry and Meghan. Now, he claims those overlooked pieces could change how some people understand the entire story. The big question is simple. What exactly does Bower say he uncovered, and why do critics believe those details could shift the whole narrative? One shadow that still hangs over everything is the legacy of Princess Diana. For many observers, the comparison never really goes away. Some critics say the public story around Meghan often circles back to Diana's image, almost like chasing a crown that was never truly meant for her to carry in the first place. But here's the twist that people rarely say out loud. Meghan and Harry are often presented as rebels standing up against the system. Yet some critics argue the situation now looks very different. Instead of fighting the monarchy, they claim the couple still relies on the attention, the history, and the royal connection while publicly criticizing the institution at the same time. According to those critics, the strategy has included emotional interviews, high-profile media deals, and constant headlines. And the more public statements appear, the more people start questioning what the real story might be. What once looked powerful and bold, now, to some observers, seems like a narrative slowly coming apart in front of millions watching. But what Tom Bower recently revealed pushes this entire situation in a direction that many people did not see coming. According to Tom Bower, Meghan's interest in Princess Diana may have gone beyond simple admiration. He suggests it sometimes looked more like a calculated strategy. While the world remembered Diana for her compassion, vulnerability, and the difficult experiences she faced inside the royal spotlight, Bower claims Meghan paid very close attention to how that public image worked. He argues that Meghan studied the details carefully, watching the famous head tilts, the soft hand gestures, and those emotional public moments that once made Diana so relatable to millions.
She was warned before she married what the nature of being Harry's wife and part of the royal family would be, and the nature of how she ignored all that advice for two reasons. One is she really did believe she could do what she wanted. And secondly, I don't believe she ever intended to stay. She always intended to take the title, take the connections and get back to...
Bauer describes it almost like studying a playbook. In his view, Meghan examined Diana's public presence step by step, as if trying to recreate that same powerful connection with the public in her own story. But critics say there is a problem with that idea. Real emotion cannot simply be copied. Some observers began pointing to what they believed were overly controlled moments, the carefully angled head tilts, the long emotional pauses, the teary expressions that seemed designed to trigger sympathy. For certain viewers, those moments did not feel natural. Instead of creating empathy, they say it sometimes made people roll their eyes because the performance felt too obvious from a distance. Prince Harry's role in all of this also raised questions for critics. Rather than shielding his mother's legacy the way some expected, critics argue that Diana's image slowly became part of the public storyline surrounding the couple. To those observers, it started to feel less like private family history and more like a powerful symbol being used in the middle of a very public media battle. For many watching from the outside, that shift felt uncomfortable, turning Diana's deeply personal story into something that looked almost like a public image strategy did not come across as a tribute to them. Instead, critics say it began to look more like marketing. Some observers believe Meghan hoped she could step into the role of a modern version of Diana, but critics argue the final result often felt forced rather than authentic. Instead of bringing Meghan the same level of respect that Diana earned, the comparisons started doing the opposite. For many critics, the more those similarities were pointed out, the more the imitations seemed obvious. And once that line was crossed, the whole situation began to feel less like a natural tribute and more like a growing public spectacle that people could not stop talking about. But as Tom Bauer explains, the focus on Diana may have only been the beginning of the controversy. According to him, the next part of the story becomes even more intense. It connects to one of the most talked about rumors that continues circulating across the internet. While the Diana comparisons already sparked criticism, the whispers about Meghan's past connections within elite social circles created an even bigger wave of speculation. Bauer does not ignore those claims. He points to stories and rumors that Meghan reportedly tried to keep out of the spotlight, including old photos that allegedly show her spending time on luxury yachts alongside wealthy businessmen, high-profile socialites, and powerful figures in entertainment. According to those rumors, she was not attending those gatherings as a widely recognized actress with major roles at the time. Instead, critics claim those environments were places where charm, influence, and the right connections could matter more than traditional auditions or industry pathways. Some observers argue Meghan did not climb the fame ladder in the typical Hollywood way. They believe she moved through powerful social circles where relationships and networking could open doors much faster than casting calls. And for those critics, this is where the polished fairy tale image begins to show its first serious cracks. The polished image of a self-made actress starts facing serious questions when people begin looking back at old photos, resurfaced stories, and rumors that keep circulating online again and again. Those images and whispers have sparked endless debate across social media and commentary channels, and many people believe Prince Harry is fully aware that these rumors exist. Yet, he continues standing firmly beside Meghan, presenting their history together as a heartfelt love story. But to many critics watching from the outside, the situation appears far more complicated than the smooth royal romance often presented in interviews and documentaries. They argue the real debate is much more direct, Some critics claim Meghan's rise in Hollywood was not mainly built on major auditions or standout acting roles. Instead, they believe access and networking played a huge part in opening doors. According to those observers, building relationships with powerful people, attending exclusive gatherings, and moving through influential social circles may have helped accelerate her path forward.
I choose people whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they've climbed the greasy pole. They want to be famous, they want to be influential, they want to be powerful.
Eventually, that path led to meeting Prince Harry. From that perspective, some commentators argue that Harry became the biggest turning point in Meghan's journey to worldwide fame. They claim he was pulled into the relationship during a whirlwind moment of attention, excitement, and global media fascination. Tom Bower's reporting does not shy away from these controversial viewpoints. His portrayal suggests Meghan did not simply wander into the royal life by pure chance. And once Meghan stepped into the royal world, the contradictions, public disputes, and non-stop headlines only made the controversy around the couple grow louder. Critics say if Meghan's past already looked complicated, the present situation appears even more chaotic. The story has become such a tangled mix of claims, responses, interviews, and public statements that some commentators joke even a soap opera writer might turn down a script this dramatic. One moment, Meghan has said she barely knew who Prince Harry was before they first met. Then, in another interview, she speaks about learning details about him and the royal world before their relationship became serious. That switch leaves many people asking one very direct question.
We can't ignore them if they keep popping up doing stuff like this. We're kind of in a mutually abusive, toxic relationship, aren't we? The media and Harry and Meghan, because they keep doing stuff wanting attention. Then they get quite adverse reaction most of the time. Then they react really badly to the reaction. And so it goes on.
Which version is the real one? Is she the innocent outsider who stepped into a life she barely understood? Or someone who had already taken time to study the spotlight and the royal environment before entering it? Many critics argue those two stories cannot both be true at the same time. Yet Meghan's public statements sometimes make it sound like both narratives exist side by side. And Prince Harry is often right there with her, repeating similar points during interviews, documentaries, and public appearances. Each new interview, each carefully staged photo opportunity, and every emotional speech that is meant to feel personal ends up sparking even more debate. Viewers start noticing what they believe are cracks forming in the story. According to critics, these shifting accounts continue raising serious questions that have not fully gone away. Every time the story appears to shift, public skepticism seems to grow stronger. And when that happens, the carefully built narrative surrounding the couple starts looking weaker under the bright spotlight of global attention. To many critics watching closely, Meghan now appears like someone struggling to keep her story consistent. Each new interview, statement, or documentary seems to add another layer of confusion, leaving viewers wondering which version they are supposed to believe. Meanwhile, Prince Harry, once widely known for being direct, outspoken, and independent, now often appears pushed into the background of Meghan's very public storyline. Critics say he frequently stands beside her during interviews and appearances, but the spotlight tends to focus heavily on presentation, messaging, and how every moment plays out on camera. Tom Bower does not soften his criticism when discussing this situation. He argues these contradictions are not just simple slip-ups or misunderstandings. In his view, they are part of a larger strategy. However, critics claim that strategy has started becoming more obvious to the public over time. Public trust can be fragile, and when audiences begin questioning a story, that reaction spreads fast across media platforms, commentary shows, and networks. Some observers believe Meghan once expected Hollywood to fully embrace her as a duchess who transformed into a powerful media personality. But the entertainment industry can be extremely tough when controversy starts surrounding a project. When narratives become messy and headlines turn negative, studios, producers, and business partners often become cautious. Many prefer stepping away from projects that could bring more public drama than success. According to critics, the issue was not simply Netflix or Spotify failing. Instead, they argue the bigger problem was how Meghan and Harry handled those massive opportunities once they had them in their hands. Placed right in front of them were opportunities that many creators in Hollywood only dream about.
It showed that he is very commercially minded, which we'll get into later on, which makes it impossible for him. And of course, Meghan wouldn't come back to Britain.
Huge platforms, global audiences, and the chance to produce projects that could have made a serious impact. But according to critics, what could have turned into groundbreaking productions instead sparked mixed reactions from viewers. Some audiences said the content leaned heavily on personal frustrations, conflicting stories, and long emotional discussions that felt more like private therapy-style conversations than the powerful storytelling many people expected. Hollywood normally loves a strong comeback story. Reinvention is almost part of the industry's DNA. But critics argue Meghan's repeated attempts to reshape the public narrative only created even more skepticism around her image over time. And Prince Harry, rather than stepping in to balance the situation, often appeared right beside her during interviews and public appearances, repeating many of the same points again and again. Critics say those moments sometimes made the entire situation feel even more uncomfortable in the public eye. Meghan has presented herself as a strong advocate for change and a powerful voice on global issues. But critics say when the excitement faded and the spotlight softened, that image started facing much heavier scrutiny. Now every quiet red carpet appearance, every uncertain speech, and every delayed project adds to the growing debate about whether the couple's star power was driven more by hype than lasting influence. Some critics now claim Meghan's reputation has become a risk that certain powerful figures would rather avoid. But the most controversial part of Tom Bower's claims is not only about Meghan's past or the debate around her changing public image. The real focus, according to many observers, is the dynamic he describes between Meghan and Prince Harry. After their relationship became public, Bower suggests Meghan played a strong role in shaping how their story was presented to the world. That reportedly included influencing interviews, guiding public messaging, and helping frame the narrative surrounding their relationship as global attention continued to grow. Critics argue that this approach sometimes made Harry appear less like an equal partner and more like someone repeating the same talking points during interviews and public appearances. In that view, a prince once widely respected for his military service and independent spirit began looking different in the public eye. Instead of the confident and relaxed figure people remembered, critics say he started appearing more tense, more defensive, and increasingly drawn into the couple's ongoing public disputes with the media and royal institution. Bower's portrayal also suggests that many of the public moments audiences saw, the photo opportunities, the hand-holding appearances, and the emotional interviews, may have been carefully organized to maintain a specific public image. According to critics, this whole strategy kept Meghan right in the center of the spotlight, while Harry slowly drifted into the background of the story. What once looked like a strong royal partnership now sparks loud debates about influence, control, and how much of the public narrative may have been carefully shaped for attention. The dynamic that once seemed balanced now has people asking serious questions about who really drives the message. And according to claims made by Tom Bower, the biggest price in all of this might be Harry's own sense of identity. Bower argues Meghan did more than simply marry into the royal family. In Bower's portrayal, Harry went from being seen as a fiercely independent royal voice to someone whose public statements often sound closely tied to the couple's shared media strategy. Critics say the prince who once spoke with confidence now appears more like a supporting character in Meghan's public storyline. For many observers, that change stands out in a big way. People still remember the Harry who served in the military and built a reputation for being direct, fearless, and straight to the point. Some critics even claim Harry now seems locked into a role where he's following a carefully managed script, Rather than leading the story himself, critics say Harry often appears to move in the background, while the media narrative keeps shifting around Meghan.
Well, and also saying all that work to do in Africa, which he dedicated his life to, he prefers now to paddle in the Pacific in Santa Monica.
Right.
Well, he does it because he needs a profile. That's the only way they can get money, by showing the profile. And for Netflix, everything is built around the future documentary series to promote the Sussex.
Tom Bower also points to moments where conversations about the couple's children suddenly enter the headlines. According to critics, certain public mentions of their daughter, Lilibet, sometimes seem to arrive right when media attention around the couple is heating up. Those moments, critics claim, can look less like quiet family updates and more like carefully timed public messaging. A few commentators even claim that when criticism toward Meghan grows louder, the image of devoted motherhood suddenly becomes a big focus in the public narrative. Then, when the pressure cools down or difficult questions start popping up, the couple appears to step back from the spotlight once more. And during many of these moments, critics say Harry is often seen standing beside Meghan without publicly challenging the narrative. From the outside, some observers say it can look like he's simply watching the storm unfold around their family. Observers also point to headline-grabbing moments, including the announcement of Lilibet's name and the public discussions that followed involving Queen Elizabeth. Those moments quickly exploded into huge public debates and waves of emotional media coverage. Tom Bower and several other critics argue that some of these events appear to line up closely with the couple's wider media strategy. From that angle, critics say the pattern raises some uncomfortable questions. When children become part of headlines or public messaging, the backlash can build fast and the conversation can turn intense. And once that criticism starts growing, even former supporters sometimes begin stepping back from the situation. By the time the couple's media partnership began facing serious struggles, many commentators say the only people who seemed caught off guard were Meghan and Harry themselves. Tom Bower strongly challenges the powerful image they once built around their story. He describes how the once glittering brand linked to royal fame slowly shifted into what critics call a carefully staged narrative filled with contradictions. What once created global fascination has, for many viewers, turned into clear fatigue. With critics calling parts of it exaggerated or incomplete, the couple's Netflix series, which many expected would launch a powerful new media legacy, ended up leaving a very different impression. Instead of building excitement, some viewers felt like they were watching two public figures repeating the same frustrations again and again, while the audience slowly started tuning out each new project or announcement. That reaction has now sparked even more questions about motive and strategy. Hollywood insiders reportedly view the situation as complicated and risky. In the entertainment world, reputation can shift fast, and once influence starts fading, rebuilding that public image can become a serious uphill battle. Tom Bower puts his criticism in very blunt terms. In his view, Meghan Markle is not the modern version of Princess Diana that some early supporters imagined. Instead, critics argue her story has turned into something very different, a warning about what can happen when ambition and image building start spinning out of control. Bower's claims push hard against the popular narrative that paints Meghan as a misunderstood victim. In his portrayal, she comes across more like a sharp strategist who may have become trapped inside the very storyline she helped build. And when it comes to Harry, critics say the image has shifted dramatically. Instead of looking like a prince leading a bold shakeup of the royal world, he often appears more like a supporting figure, moving through the same carefully managed public narrative. For many viewers, the once shiny fairy tale image has clearly faded. Controversial rumors, resurfaced stories, and old photos that keep circulating online continue to spark fresh waves of discussion and speculation even today. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others so more people can join the conversation. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this whole situation? Let's talk about it.